All right, big day in big stuff happening in basketball. Obviously, the preseason started. It's been fun to watch some preseason games. Been weird, kind of adjusting to seeing all these games without any fans in them, but getting used to it. But obviously, all of that aside, the biggest news of the day is Giannis Antetokounmpo signing the Supermax deal. I believe it's 5 years, $228 million with the Bucks.
Yeah, I believe that's it. Yep, there it is. 5 years, 228 Supermax extension.
Well, a really good day for the NBA. You gotta know Adam Silver sitting back in his chair like, yes, he didn't leave for like the Lakers or something. He didn't leave for a big market team. He stayed with the small market. Us Pistons fans, I mean, I guess I can say as a Pistons fan, I don't like the Bucks, but at the same time, does it really matter if he stays there or not? We're not going to be good within the next 4 years. we're supposed to suck. We're supposed. Though, looking at this move, if I'm Giannis, not having that much of an injury history, I don't know if this injury is actually, like, I know he's obviously injured in Game 4 of the semifinals. I don't know how bad that is. But if you're not injury prone, I don't know why you sign the Supermax right off the bat. Because this puts no pressure on the Bucks now. This puts absolutely zero pressure on the Bucks. What you want to do is kind of do like a 1+1 contract, like what Kawhi Leonard did. He went to the Clippers and did a 2+1 deal and was like, hey, 2 years plus a player option. After 2 years, if you guys still have not built around me and not given me a team worth a championship, I'm just gonna head the heck up. I'm just gonna get the heck up out of here and go next door.
Yeah.
Just gonna dip, exactly. But I mean, if you're injury prone, I completely understand taking 5 years, $228 million. But I don't know. But honestly, big day for Milwaukee Bucks fans. Now they just gotta actually put it together and not flop in the playoffs. What I think this Milwaukee Bucks team needs to do is they need to be, and they've done a decent job of this already, and I think this is what they're trying to do. They need to employ a late 2000s Orlando Magic strategy with a Dwight Howard Magic strategy. Giannis inside, everybody else get to the outside and shoot. They gotta tool around him a bunch of shooters and him. Let him go to work on the inside, and if he has to, he can kick it out to the outside, and anyone on the outside is capable of hitting a shot.
Well, that's always the issue for Milwaukee. They've never had anybody who could really shoot the basketball except for Chris Middleton, who, ironically enough, was a Piston for a little bit. He just gave him away, and now he's an all-star.
Even like things like adding Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez is a decent three-point shooting big. Splash Mountain over there. So, and Drew Holiday's a good facilitator and playmaker. I think they're building this team around him. But they just need to get people that can shoot. Decent people on the outside that can shoot. You got people on the outside that can shoot. You give it down to Giannis. He either charges in and dunks it on their head or kicks it out to a wide open shooter, because they can't send double teams at you all the time when everybody on the outside is easily capable of making a three. But big signing for the Bucks. That being said, we are going to go into our next week, our second week of divisional kind of team previews and all that. So I was about to say, conveniently enough, we're talking about the Central Division today. So let's start with the Bucks. Keep in mind, obviously on this graphic over here, you're going to see all of the starting lineups and all that on this graphic. And what I'm about to say is the depth chart according to ESPN on that day. So if it ends up being wrong halfway through the season, that's what it said at the beginning of the year on ESPN. So
I guess some point later anyway.
Exactly. So right off the bat, they're going to be rolling out a starting lineup of Drew Holiday at the 1, Dante DiVincenzo at the 2, Chris Middleton at the 3, Giannis at the 4, and Brook Lopez at the 5. Which, honestly, is a pretty good roster. I think Dante DiVincenzo is a nice young piece. Obviously, Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton are great co-stars, and obviously enough said about Giannis and Splash Mountain down there at the center who can make threes. They've got backups like Bobby Portis, DJ Augustine, Torrey Craig. Decent bench, not a great bench, but they've got a decent bench. But I don't think that really matters when you have the Greek Freak. He's just gonna tear through everybody.
Well, the Bucks do have some nice guys on the bench. I mean, Nick Stauskas has not been great in the NBA, but he could be something for them. DJ Wilson's. Oh no, wait. They got rid. No, they didn't trade DJ Wilson because they didn't get Bogdanovich. So DJ Wilson's all right. Marvin Williams not bad. I like Bobby Portis because the one thing about Bobby Portis is he's a very aggressive player.
Mm-hmm.
He is so physical, and that is a really great thing to have on your team. Somebody who just all the time does his smash mouth physical basketball. I mean, he's a tough player, and that's awesome to have, especially coming off the bench. Frank Mason, Jordan Norwell, I liked him out of college. Louisville, really good shooter. So I'm curious to see what Jordan Norwell does. Norwell. He'll be really good. I'm hoping he'll be really good in the NBA because I really liked him in college. I think he'll be a decent player. Obviously, starting lineup. You said Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday at the point.
My brother really loves Drew Holiday. I do not. I can't. I can't understand why they gave away like their entire future for him.
They wanted to keep Giannis. It's as simple as they wanted to keep Giannis. They wanted to say, "Hey, we're not going to cut any corners in getting you a championship team." And I think he's not as great of an offensive guy, but he's obviously one of if not the best defensive guards in the league, and he's a very good facilitator. He's a lot better of a facilitator than Eric Bledsoe. He's a very clear upgrade from Eric Bledsoe. I can at least give him that. He's a very clear upgrade from Eric Bledsoe.
But of course, point guard would be Drew Holiday. Good player, obviously. Shooting guard is Dante DiVincenzo. First year he did not look great, but the second year he really took off. And of course, all us Michigan fans know Dante DiVincenzo after he literally murdered us in the national championship.
Don't even. I hate that man.
Literally murdered us.
I hate that man.
He had close to like 20 or 30 points.
I don't like that man.
Obviously, that's why he got drafted by the Bucks, because of that single game where he just literally tore our defense apart. But yeah, frustrating. But small forward, Chris Middleton, really good shooter, and really is where their offense comes from. Because he's really good 3-and-D kind of player. I really like Chris Middleton. He's got a lot of talent, and he's really a big piece for this Bucks team. As I said earlier, ironically enough, the guy was a Piston, and we traded him away, and now he's an All-Star. So that happens to be something that us Piston people do.
Didn't we trade him for like Thon Maker? Who everybody was saying? Who did we trade him for?
It was a while ago.
I know, it was a long time ago.
It was nothing. It was like a second rounder and some no-namer.
We drafted him. We drafted him, yeah. Speaking of woes of Pistons fans. Oh, by the way, I think the Bucks are going to have a great regular season. Speaking of woes of the Pistons fan, let's go to the Pistons fans. They're going to be, at least according to ESPN, rolling out a starting lineup of Killian Hayes, DeLon Wright, Jeremy Grant, Blake Griffin, and Mason Plumlee. Yikes. With notable bench pieces such as Derrick Rose, who I still think should be starting. Sadiq Bey.
Yeah. Backup.
Yeah, Derrick Rose is the backup to Killian Hayes right now. I don't know. That might be the preseason roster, too. It might change. That's just what it has right now. Obviously, new young guys like Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart. Newcomers that I like Jahlil Okafor and Josh Jackson. Very, very young guy still in Sekou Doumbouya trying to prove himself. One of my favorite players who's super underrated, shooting guard Snipers, Fee Mikhailuk. He is a sniper off the bench. He shot like 45% from 3-point range last year. He's not that great of a player other than the fact that he's just a JJ Redick type guy. He's fun though, and his name's fun to say. And, of course, the Pistons are going to be the worst team in the league because they cut LiAngelo Ball. I'm just kidding.
No, they might be better now.
But no,
have a ball mess now.
there's a lot of players to like on here, but there's not a lot of, like, good. But there's a lot of things to like. There's just not a lot of superstar, even close to superstar. Like I said, some of my favorite bench players are like Svi Mikhailuk. I like Isaiah Stewart. Jahlil Okafor's looked pretty good preseason. Jahlil Okafor's had a pretty good preseason. Even Josh Jackson's looked pretty good. As far as the preseason goes.
Well, I mean, for me, coming from a huge Piston fan, I'm disappointed with Troy Weaver.
Well, the biggest thing is,
the signing of like the 20 centers is really what was us beyond stupid. We had like 7 or 8 centers at the beginning of the season. I'm like, what are you doing? Mason Plumlee for like what, almost $10 million a year for 3 years.
They definitely want to lose.
Jeremy Grant for $20 million a year. What are you thinking?
They definitely want to lose. I mean, to be fair, again, Jeremy Grant's just there to be the tank commander. It's not like that $60 million a year. It's not like we're going to use that in the next 3 years.
In the first preseason game, Jeremy Grant was 1 of 11.
He was pretty bad.
He was awful.
Again, the biggest thing.
We do have decent players on the team. I like Sadiq Bey. He's really good. Blake, if he becomes himself again, will look fine. Wayne Ellington's not a bad player. I love Josh Jackson. Mm-hmm. That's about the only thing that I liked from the entire offseason. That you seem a little confused by that one, but
no, I mean
Josh Jackson's like the only person I really like from the signing by the Pistons, besides maybe Jahlil Okafor. He's not terrible either.
I mean, I'm a Suns fan. I'm a Suns fan, so I don't have great memories.
Mason Plumlee's a bum. Derrick Rose is really good, I think. I really love Isaiah Stewart. I love this kid because of one thing. He is so aggressive every single play. Every single time he's on the court, he's energetic. He runs towards the ball. He's making plays. He doesn't stop. He does anything and everything he can. And I love that from any kind of a player. And really, the Pistons desperately need that on their team.
Yeah.
And then the rest of this team is just, well...
I wouldn't go as far as saying Mason Plumlee and Jeremy Grant are bums. They're not worth as much as we're paying for them to be starters. They're more good backup role players. They're good. They're just not starting caliber. Mason Plumlee could start, just not for an amazing team. The thing is, the offseason looks absolutely horrid right now, but it could get better if these guys play well and we can flip them for draft picks. Because I honestly think that's what Troy Weaver's playing here for. He got a couple guys that can be good enough that eventually halfway through, because I think like Mason Plumlee we're going to flip. Jeremy Grant, I'm like 99% sure we're going to flip. Even like Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose, I'm pretty sure we're going to flip. I think all these old, bigger contract, we're going to try to flip them if they look good. So I think that's what he's trying to do. So the offseason has a potential to be good if down the line, say, we now have 6 draft picks because of a couple of these guys, or we have a couple good first-round picks because of these guys. That's when it will be good.
I got some good nicknames for some of these guys, like Sarsikum Dimboya. My family loves to call him Siko Dimbusta.
He's not a bust yet. Give him another year. We've given him 1 year. Not many players come out their first year and are amazing. He's a decent role player.
We like to call Ilu Svi Mikhailuk.
He's good though. He's not amazing, but he is a good 3-point shooter. Dude, I've watched him while playing some of these games. He's pretty good. He's pretty good on the Pistons roster. I
lost interest in the Pistons when we just really, really sucked, and then we drafted Killian Hayes.
No, I won't sit here and defend the Killian Hayes draft pick. In his games that I've watched him play, he's not played well. And the funny thing is, we played the Knicks, and Obi Toppin was out there balling, and Killian Hayes was out here being just not that great. But it just depends on how well they flip this team and how well they draft. Obviously, I think this year's draft outside of Killian Hayes was actually pretty good. I like Isaiah Stewart and Sadiq Bey. Those are definitely good. Even Jahlil Okafor and Josh Jackson. Again, I think right now their starting lineup is just, hey, let's look like we're trying not to suck, but we kind of want to suck. But I don't know. As long as they actually like flip a Jeremy Grant, and Derrick Rose, because honestly, I think a team like the Nuggets would pay $60 million a year to Jeremy Grant if they could, because he's a good backup guy. I mean, the Nuggets were about to match it. The Nuggets matched the offer. The only reason Jeremy Grant left was because he's like, oh, everybody else on this team sucks. I'm gonna get to go there and average like 30 points a game.
All right, let's move on to an actual basketball team now.
The Cleveland Cavaliers. No, just kidding.
Oh Lord, there we go.
Let's talk about the Indiana Pacers first. We'll talk about the Pacers first. We'll give us a break before we talk about the other two bottom teams.
Well, the Bulls aren't terrible.
They're not terrible. They got a lot better after firing Jim Boylan.
They're just young. They haven't reached what they're actually going to be. I think they're a good team. They're just very, very young.
We'll
anywhere close to their potential yet.
We'll get to them. Let's go to the Pacers, who I actually think is a pretty good team. Rolling out a pretty good starting lineup. Especially if Victor Oladipo stays healthy, of Malcolm Brogdon, Victor Oladipo, T.J. Warren, Domantas Sabonis, and Miles Turner. This is honestly a really good team. Obviously, off the bench, you got Jeremy Lamb, Aaron Holiday, Justin Holiday, Doug McDermott, Badazzi, McConnell. They got two of the Holidays. But this is a good team. This is a really, really good team. And this is... I hate to say that they're going to be fighting for either the 6th through 8th seed. But that's just how good the Eastern Conference is this year. The Eastern Conference is actually, like, a very competitive scene this year. But it's a good team.
The Pacers are okay. They'll be, like you said, a borderline playoff team, probably like a 7 or 8. I mean, they have some decent guys. Malcolm Brogdon's okay. Both the Holidays are decent. McDermott's all right.
Sabonis is an all-star. Sabonis was an all-star last year. Sabonis is really good.
Yeah, Domantas Sabonis.
Miles Turner's a good young big. Not super young, but a good young big.
He's 24, actually.
Yeah, so he's still decently young. And then, obviously, T.J. Warren, it's 50-50 whether he's super streaky or not that great, but still a serviceable small forward. And then I think Malcolm Brogdon is a pretty good point guard, as well as Victor Oladipo. Again, Malcolm Brogdon, I believe, was a Buck, if I'm not mistaken, at one point. I believe he was a Buck. So
Malcolm Brogdon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Buck paid him to the Pacers.
I was about to say, they probably like to have Malcolm Brogdon back to back up Drew Holiday right now. Malcolm Brogdon's better than Eric Bledsoe. But this will be a team... Well, I'm saying they had Eric Bledsoe, and Malcolm Brogdon would have been better than Eric Bledsoe last year if they had him. I'm just saying, instead, they wouldn't have had to give up their entire future for Drew Holiday. But this team is going to be kind of a borderline 6 through 8 seed. I think the 6 through 8 seed is going to be a battle between... The main teams that it's going to be a battle between are going to be the Raptors, the Pacers... It's going to be between the Raptors, Pacers, Hawks, and Wizards. And then throw in, on the outside looking in, like, maybe the Hornets and the Magic.
I would say the Bulls.
They're on the outside. Like, they're still behind, like, the Magic and stuff like that, in my opinion. I don't think they're yet a playoff team, especially with how stacked this conference is. Because the Eastern Conference 1 through 5 is really good. I mean, the Celtics, the Nets, the Bucks, the 76ers even, and the Heat are all amazing teams.
And the Raptors.
Yeah, Raptors. But I think Raptors are still going to be kind of 6 through 8, if not 5 or 6. The 76ers could go between 5 and 6. But... Yeah, I don't know, but I think this Pacers team is going to be a decent team, a borderline playoff team, just because the East is good. But they have a pretty good lineup, good depth, good starters. No like superstar, but if only
Oladipo would stay healthy.
Oladipo didn't get injured. All right, let's go. Let's go talk. Yeah, let's go talk about them Bulls. Think it has a high ceiling but a very low floor. Wendell Carter Jr. is a very underrated center. Larry Markkanen's a good power forward. Otto Porter Jr. is a good small forward. Obviously, Zach LaVine is a good shooting guard. And Kobe White is still struggling to make his complete jump. He hasn't really made too much of a jump yet. I think a lot of people, not that Kobe White's a bad player. I like Kobe White, but I think a lot of people give him more credit than he deserves. I think he is a little bit overrated as of right now. Biggest thing for this team, though, is
the majority of the Bulls team is either 28 or younger. The only one older is Garrett Temple, who's 34. Everyone else is 28 or younger.
Young NBA team.
I mean, the Bulls are very, very young, and that shows that they have a crap ton of potential.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, they have Wendell Carter, Devon Dotson, obviously Markkanen and LaVine are both really, really good pieces. Otto Porter Jr. is pretty good. I really love Kobe White. Wendell Carter, like you said, I think as well. He's very underrated. He's really good. He's a pretty good center, better than what people give him credit for.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have to agree with you that they have a really high ceiling. They can be a really good team, but if it doesn't work out, they could be one of the bottom squads.
Yeah,
they're a very big wild card.
The biggest thing for the Bulls, it didn't matter who they put in there. They fired Jim Boylan. Jim Boylan was an idiot of a head coach. Billy Donovan, it doesn't matter who you put there, but Billy Donovan's a good replacement. But like I said, I think Zach LaVine's good. Obviously, Markkanen's good. Otto Porter's serviceable. He has a really, really big contract, but he's still a good player. Wendell Carter is a really good big. And like I said, Kobe White, I still haven't seen enough out of him. Granted, we didn't see much of him last year. I still haven't seen enough out of him to say he is where a lot of people put him. I think just a lot of people put him higher than he is. And I would say this is a team fighting for a playoff spot, but I don't think they're better than the Raptors. I don't think they're better than the Pacers. I don't think they're better than the Hawks. I even think the Magic are better than them. I don't think they're good enough to make the playoffs just yet. Just with how good the East is. It's not even anything to do with them. It's just how good the East is this year.
All right, I guess we'll go to the Cavs.
Oh, well, this team we don't need to talk about, but we will. This team is not...
Just saw Charles Matthews is on their team. He's actually on an NBA team. The Cavs have him. That's awesome.
Now speaking of the Bulls, probably not making the playoffs. The Pistons definitely not making the playoffs. Let's talk about another team that's definitely not making the playoffs. The Cleveland Cavaliers. See, here's the thing. The Cleveland Cavaliers and the Detroit Pistons both suck. But the Cavaliers have no direction. They have no idea what they're doing. The Pistons at least were like, all right, listen, we're going to scrap Andre Drummond. We're just going to suck. We're going to suck. We're going to commit to sucking, and we're going to get better as through the draft. At least they have a plan. The Cavaliers are just like, you know what? We're fine. We got Kevin Love, Andre Drummond, Isaac Okoro, Colin Sexton, and Darius Garland. Darius Garland is okay. He hasn't been anything special just yet. Andre Drummond, as much as I love him, he's mainly a rebounding center. And a rebounding specialist can't win in the NBA. I was watching a video by this YouTuber, Rusty Buckets. He does a lot of good videos. But he did one on rebounding, and he actually made a really good comparison. It's like in the NFL. Your team has a really good kicker, right? That is going to be good for you and going to help you win. But if your best player is a kicker, that's not good. if your best player is a kicker. But decent team, some decent depth, but they're in no man's land and they have no idea what they're doing.
Well, for the Cavs, I think they're obviously in rebuilding mode, and then the Pistons are just doing all kinds of random things. But they have a lot of young guys too, so maybe they're trying to rebuild. I don't know what the heck Troy Weaver's doing, but Cavs. They have Thon Maker. I thought we did. Apparently,
we
not.
traded him. We traded him. I think we traded him with Thon. I think he was in the Andre Drummond trade probably. That'd make the most sense.
Sure. Either way, he's a Cav. And if you heard me say earlier, Charles Matthews. If you Michigan fans remember Charles Matthews, he made it on an NBA team. He's with the Cavs. I don't know if he'll hang around, but I'd love to see that. That'd be awesome. But Charles Matthews on there. JaVale McGee's a decent player. Larry Nance, decent player. Dante Exum on the squad. My brother loves him for NBA 2K on the PS4. He just gets Dante Exum all the time, and somehow is averaging 20 points a game with him every single year. It makes no sense whatsoever, but it just works for him. I don't know how, but he's not that good in real life. He's okay. Darius Garland, decent player. Obviously, Colin Sexton is very, very good. I love Sexton. Kevin Porter, decent player. They also have Lamar Stevens. If you remember him from Penn State, he had some really good games. He was a decent player. And then, of course, Andre Drummond. I mean, Drummond, if you have him motivated to actually play and actually try, he's an all-star.
He just can't be the best player on your team.
Any efforts, he is a big nothing.
He can't play.
That's the problem with Andre Drummond. He half the time doesn't try, and it was so annoying for us Detroit Pistons fans because he is a really good player, but he didn't try. He hardly ever tried. So half the time, he's just putting half effort out there. Whatever center you put on him is just bullying him around. It's like, dude, actually try. But that's the issue. He isn't motivated to actually play the game.
He also can't shoot. Which, in today's NBA, if you can't space the floor, you're not going to do that great.
He's mainly an inside shooter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now going to the other conference. We're going to finish it up here with the other side, which is probably the second best division in basketball, the Pacific Division. Honestly, might even be the best division in basketball, but I think I still give it to the Atlantic by a smidge. Let's start with the team that nobody wants to hear about except for Lakers fans. Let's start with the Lakers. Obviously rolling out a starting lineup of LeBron James, Dennis Schroeder, KCP, Anthony Davis, and Marc Gasol, with backups like Alex Caruso, Wesley Matthews, Kyle Kuzma, Markieff Morris, Montrezl Harris, the reigning sixth man of the year, Talen Horton-Tucker. Man, freaking dropped 31 points in a preseason game against the Clippers. And Xavier Simpson from Michigan. Xavier Simpson's a Laker. Xavier Simpson's a Laker. He's probably gonna get 0 minutes, but he's a Laker. So, as much as I hate to admit it, because of those two guys over there, we're all pretty much living in a Lakers world. I don't see any way that the Lakers aren't back-to-back champions. I think if they weren't back-to-back champions, it would be just an upset because they're just that good. I mean, just having LeBron James on your team is good. I don't care that he's 36 years old. It's still LeBron freaking James. And then obviously also having Anthony Davis and getting better support pieces like Dennis Schroeder, Marc Gasol, Montrezl Harrell, Wesley Matthews, even Kyle Kuzma every now and again. It's an outstanding team. I think easily the best in the league.
I still think it's hilarious that Xavier Simpson's actually on an NBA team, but about the starting lineup, is there really a better starting lineup? I don't really think there is. I mean, you look at the starting lineup. It's Dennis Schroeder, KCP, I believe, is their starting shooting guard.
Small
right?
forward. No. Dennis Schroeder's the shooting guard.
Who's the
KCP. KCP's a small forward. LeBron James is the point guard. Yeah,
Oh.
LeBron played point last year.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah.
I mean, he would usually play like small forward or power forward, but like Anthony Davis is there. He's a great facilitator, especially in his old age. So, and what point guard is gonna guard LeBron James outside of Ben Simmons?
No one.
Outside of Ben Simmons, it's like, who's gonna guard what kind of point guard? Oh man, imagine like Kyle Lowry matched up against.
Just imagine if Isaiah Thomas was still a decent player, what he would be like against LeBron.
Oh no. Killian Hayes. Ooh.
Oh boy.
Oh, that's gonna be a fun matchup.
Oh no,
But
let's not go there.
Ain't no better lineup. They even got Marc Gasol. Marc Gasol as well.
I didn't realize that. So LeBron at point, Schroeder shooting guard, KCP the small forward. I was reading it on ESPN. It showed LeBron as a small forward, so I figured they'd say I meant small.
That's weird.
But
I have on my ESPN. My ESPN says what I just. That's weird.
I'm not looking at the depth chart. I'm just looking at the roster period.
Oh, I'm looking at the depth chart.
It shows his position as small forward.
Okay, that's his primary position. Yeah, I'm looking at the depth chart.
But anyways, of course, Anthony Davis at power forward, and then center Marc Gasol, Alien Eye. I'm sorry,
Marc Gasol over Montrezl Harrell.
My brother and I like to call him Alien Eyes because one time we were playing 2K, it really looked like his eyes were like alien, they're like blaring out. But so Marc Gasol is starter, and of course bench is just loaded. Kyle Kuzma, Wesley Matthews, Caruso. I think there's their backup point guard.
Alex Caruso, I believe. Yeah. I mean, their backup point guard is technically Schroeder, but
technically, yeah.
He's also a shooting guard. So.
Yeah. Taylor Horton-Tucker obviously has looked really good lately. So I liked him out of college. He looked pretty good at Iowa State. He just didn't have a great first year. Now all of a sudden he drops 32. So maybe this is the year he breaks out. Power forward, power forward or center, whichever one they want to put him at.
Oh, he wants to run the power forward. Anthony Davis hates running the center.
I meant backups.
Okay.
Power forward, Montrezl Harrell. I keep on calling him Alien Eyes.
They'll probably keep running Morris. They'll probably keep running Morris at the power forward.
Oh yeah,
backup.
Markieff
Morris is the backup.
So they'll probably put Montrezl Harrell over at center.
Let's move over to the other LA team. We all know enough about the Lakers.
Yeah, they're obviously really good. They also have J.R. Smith. So they have a gigantic rotation that they can put in.
Who cares? Okay, let's move on to the LA Clippers.
Who cares?
The Clippers obviously have a lot to prove this year with the fact that, like I said, Kawhi Leonard signed that 2+1 deal. So if they ain't good this year, Kawhi can just up and leave. But they're going to be running a lineup of Pat Bev at the point guard, Paul George at the shooting guard, Kawhi at the 3, Marcus Morris at the 4, and Serge Ibaka at the 5, with some decent backups. I mean, obviously Zubac is a really good offensive guy, actually has a mid-range shot. Lou Will, obviously a pretty good backup shooting guard. Reggie Jackson, we all know Reggie Jackson was actually pretty decent before his injuries. He was pretty decent before his injuries, but injuries have just derailed him. He's a good backup. And then
that's true.
He's a good backup. And then Luke Kennard, which
he's good.
He's
honestly.
good.
He's just not as good as the Pistons where the Pistons drafted him. He's a good player.
Only thing I know for Luke Kennard is the game Duke versus Syracuse. It was in the Carrier Dome. Luke Kennard bricks a shot in the final seconds. Syracuse gets it down, runs it down. He puts up a shot with 3 Blue Devils around him, puts up a shot and banks it in to upset Duke. And I was like, let's go. I loved that game. But they're going to be a good team. Obviously a good regular season team. It just depends on can they play together well, and can Paul George and Kawhi Leonard not choke? And when I say choke, I mean choke.
Oh.
They choked in Game 7. The rest of the team played decent. They choked. But also replacing Montrezl Harrell with Serge Ibaka, upgrade in my opinion. Montrezl Harrell's good, but Serge Ibaka brings both offense and defense. Montrezl Harrell had no defense. He had no defense.
Yeah, that's true. I really like Serge Ibaka. I have so many nicknames for so many people.
Serge
I like
Ibaka.
Yeah, there you go.
Serge Ibaka.
Serge Ibaka. I love that nickname. Serge Ibaka. Honestly, Ibaka was actually one of my favorite players growing up.
In OKC.
I love Serge Ibaka. I really did love him. He's a really good player, I think. And he's a really good piece for really any team to have. And for the Clippers, it's a nice way to replace
Montrezl Harrell, not Alien Eyes.
Of course, the starting lineup's loaded. Pat Bev, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard,
Marcus
Morris. And then who'd you say this?
Serge Ibaka, at least according to ESPN.
Oh, yeah, Ibaka is a starter. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, really good starting five. For the backups, we got Reggie Jackson, Daniel Ochuru's really good out of Minnesota. Love him. Very good player. Even the other Minnesota man, Amir Coffey, he's also really good. Like both of those guys. Nicholas Batum's a decent piece. Luke Kennard is a young talent who hasn't really been the best, but he's got some good talent. He still can make shots. He's a good player.
Mm-hmm.
Lou Williams, obviously, very good. Don't really know much about Zubats, but apparently it's okay.
Zubac is good. Zubac is good. He's a good defensive. Has good defense as well as a decent midi.
Clippers are a very good team. Their one roadblock is still the Lakers.
100%.
And they have to not choke in 3 games against the Nuggets. Just don't do that again. I think they'll be okay.
Let's move on to my other hometown team, the Phoenix Suns, who definitely got a lot better. Obviously, running out of starting lineup of Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, and DeAndre Ayton. Now, Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, this team before they got Chris Paul, when they had Kelly Oubre, was a playoff team. No doubt in my mind, if DeAndre Ayton hadn't had a 25-game suspension to start the season, I think they would have been better than the Grizzlies. I think they would have been in the playoffs. They were just that good.
They would probably have a play-in game with. They would have had to have a play-in game.
Probably.
With,
potentially, who knows how good they are? Because DeAndre Ayton missed 25 games too. That's the big thing. That DeAndre Ayton missed 25 games. This team at full strength is good. And now you're adding Chris Paul. I mean, sure, the loss of Kelly Oubre kind of sucks. I'm going to miss them Valley Boys. But the addition of Chris Paul, the point guard, obviously outstanding player. The addition of Jay Crowder as well, really good. Dario Saric is a decent man off the bench. Cam Johnson is good off the bench. Cam Johnson's good off the bench. And they got some decent pieces like Javon Carter, Cam Payne, each one more. They have Langston Galloway.
upgrade.
No. I was just saying Langston Galloway because we know about Langston Galloway. But this is a good team. I think this team is going to vie for a playoff spot. They're not good enough to win a championship, but I think they're good enough to vie for a playoff spot and at least probably be third in their division.
Yeah, Suns are a very good team. Devin Booker obviously is very talented. DeAndre Ayton is very good. I almost said Draymond Green. I mean, we're doing the Warriors next, but we're not in the Warriors yet, so I don't know why. Obviously, Chris Paul's a big addition for the Phoenix Suns, acting as basically kind of like he was with the Thunder. Mentor position, just teaching the younger guys, being the leader of the group, and I think that's going to be a big thing for Phoenix. If you can, because he's a really good player already, and just having that kind of an experience on your team really helps, when especially the rest of your team is pretty much an average of like 25, 24. So,
which, again, yeah, I like the drafting of Jalen Smith. I like Jalen Smith as a player. He's a good player, and we needed a really good power forward. to back up a decent power forward to back up Jay Crowder. The only thing I wish is I do wish they would have drafted Tyrese Halliburton to learn to literally learn under the wing of Chris Paul as a point guard. Tyrese Halliburton, it would have been great for him to come off the bench with Chris Paul, and then once Chris Paul's ready to leave, retire, whatever, Tyrese Halliburton steps in and becomes a really good point guard. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. But still a good team. Let's go to the board.
Jalen Smith's a bit of a reach in the draft at number 10. I think he should have gone a lot lower, but maybe he'll be a decent player. I don't know.
Again, they went for fit. That's the reason. They went for fit over talent. Like I said, I would have gone with Tyrese Halliburton myself. But
yeah, solid team in the Suns. I think they're 100% making the playoffs no matter what. Unless they have like a bunch of injuries, I think this team's solidly in.
Same thing with the Golden State Warriors. I don't think they're guaranteed a spot as much as the Suns are, but I think they'll still get a spot. Obviously Steph Curry. Unfortunately for shooting guard, they don't have Klay Thompson, but they were able to move Wiggs up to the 2 because they did acquire Kelly Oubre, who's a really good 3, and then obviously they got Draymond and Pascal at the 4, and James Wiseman and Marquise Chris and Kevon Looney at the 5. You got Wanamaker and Poole for both backup point guard and shooting guard minutes. Damian Lee, Kent Bazemore. You got some decent bench, but outside of the starting lineup, this isn't a very special team. But those top 3, Andrew Wiggins really needs to prove himself this year because a lot of people are starting to call him a bust and starting to doubt him. Curry is Curry, and Oubre is a very, very explosive player. Very fun player.
I think Andrew Wiggins gets a lot of really unwanted hate. He is so underrated. I think Wiggins is a really good player. He's just so underrated, and he gets so much hate for like no apparent reason. People just don't like him. I don't know why. He's a good player.
I don't get it either. He's a good player. He's just, I think it's because he was drafted so high that everybody's like puts more pressure on him or something. I don't know.
I guess, but the rest of this team, obviously, Curry's Curry. Well, if Draymond doesn't hack a bunch of people and be a bum, I mean, he'll be all right.
Yeah.
Of course, unfortunately for the Warriors, no Klay Thompson. That's so rough. I mean, how many times does their players have to get hurt? I mean, last season they basically lost their entire starting lineup. I mean, and now they lose another one of their starters again for the entire season, which I think kills the Warriors. I think they'll probably be a borderline playoff team. Like they'll be fighting for like the 7 or 8 spot, or because now the NBA is now doing that like play-in thing. So maybe they'll be like a 9 or 10 for a play-in spot, or 8. Somewhere in that range. They have players, but I think the loss of Klay Thompson is just really gonna hurt them.
Mm-hmm. I think I know why people I don't like Wiggins. He was the number 1 pick in the 2014 draft. He was picked over Joel Embiid, Zach LaVine, T.J. Warren, Yusuf Nurkic, Marcus Smart, Clint Capella, Bojan Bogdanovic, Gary Harris, Jeremy Grant, Jokic. I think it's because of the players that were drafted under him. Those are some pretty serviceable people, and some of them, obviously, Jokic and Embiid, but maybe that's why. I don't know. He's a good player, though. Let's get to our last team of the night, the Sacramento Kings. De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield at the 1 and 2, Harrison Barnes at the 3, Bagley at the 4, and Rashawn Holmes at the 5, backed up by Hassan Whiteside and Frank Kaminsky, Nima Bjelica off the bench, Glenn Robinson III off the bench. Honestly, probably the steal of the draft, in my opinion, with Tyrese Halliburton falling all the way. I mean, the fact that he fell all the way to 13 when he was projected to go top 6 or 7 is really good, in my opinion.
Honestly, I think the entire, this is the Pacific, yeah. I think the entire Pacific Division are all playoff teams, or at least borderline teams.
Kings are definitely the outlier.
The Kings are probably the worst out of the group. I think
easily.
Warriors and up are all playoff teams,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Kings I think will be right on the line for like maybe a play-in or the low seed
Because
as
they
well.
did the play-in this year. That's right.
Jabari Parker hasn't been great, but I mean he's still a serviceable player. I love Hassan Whiteside. He's a really good player. That's a huge addition for the Kings. Honestly, I love Whiteside.
The thing that I've seen with Whiteside is he's a lot like Drummond. He's a really good player, but a lot of the time he just doesn't try. You notice the best years of his career are always contract years. Other than that, he's good. He's not great. But his contract years, he's outstanding. I think he's just a lot like Drummond. He has the ceiling to be a really, really, really good player. He just doesn't try hard enough to reach that.
Also, the Kings have Glenn Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, remember, if you guys know GR3 from Michigan, you'd know he's a decent player. So I think that's a nice addition for the Kings. Buddy Hield. Of course, I like Halliburton a lot. Many people think he's a bust, but he should be a decent player.
No, especially all the way at 13.
Amazing. They have a lot of nice pieces that all can meld together very well. It's just a matter of it melding together. And if it does, watch out. Sacramento's going to be really good.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's going to mesh together. I don't have any faith in the Kings, especially being in the same division, especially having to play the Lakers, Clippers, Kings, and Lakers, Clippers, Suns, and Warriors 4 times each in a stacked, but I don't see the Sacramento Kings competing for a playoff spot. There's just too many teams that I think are just better than them to compete. But they're a good team. The West is just stacked. But that being said, that's it for our NBA episode. This one should actually be coming out tomorrow. I have planned for it to already come out tomorrow. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Peace out.